The dusty town of Red Creek was quiet as the sun slowly disappeared behind the mountains. The wind pushed sand across the empty street, and the wooden signs outside the old saloon creaked softly. People in Red Creek had learned something long ago: in the Wild West, trouble always arrived on horseback. That evening, a lone cowboy rode into town. His name was Jake Carter. His coat was worn, his hat pulled low, and his face carried the scars of a hard life. Jake had been traveling for years, moving from one town to another. Some said he was running from his past. Others believed he was simply searching for something he had lost. Jake tied his horse outside the saloon and stepped inside. The piano music stopped for a moment as everyone looked at the stranger. Cowboys, gamblers, and ranch hands all watched him quietly. But Jake wasn't looking at them. His eyes stopped on a woman standing alone near the window. Her name was Clara Dawson. She was beautiful, but there was something different about her. Something mysterious. The townspeople avoided her. No one spoke to her unless they had to. Jake walked to the bar. "Who's the woman by the window?" he asked the bartender. The bartender wiped a glass slowly and leaned closer. "You're new here, cowboy," he said quietly. "Take my advice, stay away from her." Jake raised an eyebrow. "Why?" The bartender sighed. "Because every man who tried to help her ended up dead." Jake glanced at Clara again. She looked lonely. Later that night, Jake stepped outside the saloon. The moon hung over the desert, lighting the quiet street. Clara walked out moments later. She noticed Jake watching her. "You shouldn't stare," she said calmly. Jake smiled slightly. "And you shouldn't walk alone in a town that fears you." Clara crossed her arms. "They don't fear me," she replied softly. "They fear the men who are looking for me." Jake tilted his head. "What did you do?" Clara looked away toward the dark desert. "Nothing," she said. "But the most dangerous outlaw in the territory believes I betrayed him." Jake didn't ask more questions. He simply said, "Then maybe you need someone who isn't afraid." For the first time, Clara smiled. But the next morning, everything changed. A cloud of dust appeared on the horizon. 20 riders were approaching Red Creek. The townspeople ran inside buildings and closed their doors. Everyone knew who it was. The Black Vulture Gang. Their leader, Victor Kane, rode at the front with a cold smile. They stopped in the middle of town. Victor looked around slowly before shouting, "Send Clara Dawson out here." Silence filled the town. Victor laughed. "If she doesn't come out, we burn this place to the ground." Clara stood inside the saloon, shaking. She knew the gang would destroy the town because of her. So she stepped toward the door. But suddenly a voice stopped her. "Don't." Jake Carter stood in front of the door. "You don't owe them your life," he said. Clara looked at him with fear. "There are 20 of them." Jake placed his hat on his head and walked outside. "I've faced worse." He stepped into the dusty street. Victor Kane looked at him and laughed. "And who are you supposed to be?" Jake rested his hand on his revolver. "Just a cowboy who doesn't like bullies." Victor shook his head. "You're about to die for a woman you just met." Jake answered calmly. "Some things are worth the risk." The wind stopped. The street became silent. Then, bang! Jake's revolver fired faster than anyone expected. One outlaw fell from his horse. Then another. The street exploded with gunfire. Dust, smoke, and shouting filled the air. Jake moved quickly, dodging bullets and firing back. One by one, the outlaws fell. Finally, only Victor Kane remained. Victor fired first. The bullet struck Jake in the shoulder. Jake staggered but stayed standing. He lifted his revolver one last time. Bang! Victor Kane collapsed into the dirt. The town was silent again. Jake slowly dropped to one knee. Clara ran to him and held him before he fell. Tears filled her eyes. "Why would you do that?" she asked. Jake looked at her and smiled weakly. "Because the moment I saw you, I knew you deserved someone willing to fight for you." Months later, Red Creek was peaceful again. Outside the town, near a quiet ranch, a cowboy and a woman were building a new life together. People in town would later say something about that day. In the Wild West, guns ruled the land. But sometimes love was stronger than fear. Red Heart.